Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com, and welcome back to the studio for another session live where I'm going to answer whatever I can from you if you go ahead and send them to us either on the chat with Facebook and or YouTube. So we're going to spend a few minutes going through whatever you send me, see if you can stump me for about 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, and then I'll be getting out of here. Looks like we've got one already rolling in from Stacy. Stacy says, I have a 1986 Honda FourTrax 250. Can't kill those machines, can you? And I just put a new carb kit in it, and it sputters and doesn't run right under throttle, pops back and dies, seems to be leaking a little bit of oil from the valve. I'm thinking about putting seals in it and a valve job. Will this help because it keeps fouling the plug? All right, typically when you're fouling a plug, that's telling me it's getting too much fuel, and that's kind of what you're describing. So my question number one would be, what carb kit did you put in it? And if so, where did you put the jet on the, there should be a little circlip on the main jet, and that needs to be at a very specific height for that particular model, because that one kit may be used on 3 or 4 different machines. Although they may be similar, they may not be exactly. Okay, and you're also sending me also the idle screw doesn't do anything. Well, there's a big mark right there as to what's up. That's telling me that you're only running apparently on your main circuit. So evidently you've got your idle stop plate set to the point it's actually running on the main circuit and not the idle adjustment circuit, and that tells me that it's probably stopped up, even though you've put in a new kit and that probably had a new idle jet in there. The passage that the idle jet actually screws into may still be stopped up, and if that's the case, go ahead and pull it back apart, take out that jet, and see if you can use just carb cleaner with that little red tube, see if it'll flow back out and spray through. Should come out at the intake, if I remember correctly, of the carburetor itself. So it sounds like your carburetor body may be still stopped up and it's not letting things G-haul correctly. But as far as your oil consumption and maybe burning some oil, and hence the blue smoke that you'll be looking for, a 1986, it may be time for some new seals. So, a top-end freshen up wouldn't be out of line. I mean, if your compression's still good, you can probably just get away with rings, set of gaskets, those the valve seals, and then you'll be good to go for a good while longer. Well, as you dive into it, let us know how it goes, because, well, as always, I'm curious to see what advice actually helps y'all out. All right. Let's go to Evan. Evan, I have a 2007 Honda 400EX, and when I'm in the low RPMs, it seems to bog out. I can't seem to find the problem. All right, a couple of questions. Is she stock? Have you done anything to it? When's the last time it was run? It's been setting up for a while, because it sounds like this is a transition issue in the carburation when it's trying to go from idle up to wide open throttle. Sounds like she's choking down. So I would start looking through the fuel system to make sure all that my jets are cleaned out appropriately, as I was just talking to Stacy about with her 86 200 FourTrax, excuse me. Stacy did respond back, it is a moose kit, and I'm pretty sure the moose kit does have the different segments on the main jet where that circlip needs to be. If you're sure that your idle jet is open and the idle passageway inside of the carb is okay, I would say let's move your circlip up one position on that main jet and then see what she does. So that should lean it out a little bit and see if that transition works a little bit better. And TC Daniel says, hi, I'm from Sweden. I've got a Kodiak 700 and a Big Bear 350. Good combination, that ought to cover. You've got 2 machines. That means somebody riding with you? I would hope so. Evan is saying it's completely stock. I was just riding it today. Well, I would definitely go in and take a look at the carburetor and see if something stopped up in there, because it's not wanting to evidently transition and it's just falling on its face. So open it up. Let me know what you find inside. All right, what else do we have today? Austin is sending a question. The rear master cylinder on my 2010 Sportsman 500 HO is bad. Okay. Since it needs to be removed and replaced, do I need to bleed the front as well as the back since they're connected? Thanks. I know that when we did some work on that Sportsman 850, I think it has a similar setup as far as the front or the rear brake pedal actually bringing down the front end as well. And I'm pretty sure we went through the process of how to bleed that. So if you would, go to our YouTube channel and find that unit in its associated playlist and see if I'm right on that. But chances are, yes, you will have to bleed each one of those, separately if you're having to take it all the way off. Now, which one did you say you were taking off? Oh, the rear master cylinder. Yes, you will definitely need to. If you were telling me it was just the rear caliper, yeah, you wouldn't have to. But with the rear master, it has a chance of going either direction, if I remember correctly. So you're going to have to bleed out both sections. But hey, a 2010, it's time to flush out your brake fluid anyway. And I'm betting you've never done it before, and now's the perfect time to do it. Because whatever you pump out of there, it's going to look like Coca-Cola. When you're done, it'll have that nice gold tint to it. And it'll be good to go and won't be damaging your seals ever so quickly. All right. Geraldo, he wants us to do another Grom giveaway, guys and girls. What do we think about that? Well, we don't want to do another Grom. Give me something else that you want us to do, something different. What's everybody out there clamoring for? We had actually talked amongst ourselves about doing a monkey, but hey, that's just a Grom in different clothing. But if y'all want us to do that, yeah, why not? Well, we can head that direction, but yeah, go and give me your advice as to what machine you'd like to see done, because we are definitely wanting to do another giveaway and hopefully be able to give it to the new owner sometime in the spring. And believe me, that'll be here before we know it. So send those suggestions to us. I guess we need to have a giveaway contest as to what we're going to give away next. How does that work, T-Race? She's giving me the okay. What else do we have here? John is asking me, I have a 2002 400EX with a brand new axle, hubs, chain sprockets, rotors, same tire pressure and everything. And when I pop a wheelie, let me get my screen to stop moving. It pulls hard to the right side. Okay. Well, that would tell me that there has to be an alignment problem, probably on the swing arm. But you're not telling me you even went near there, because it's a concentric hub. I'm thinking out loud, a concentric hub, and it's impossible for it to really get twisted one direction or the other. Are you this is a little weird question. You said your tire pressure was the same. Are you absolutely certain the tires are the same aspect ratio or diameter on the outside? The only time I've run into that is actually on my son's car. We were at an event and had to change out a tire. I'm not going to go into why. But we got on the highway, and good grief, we accelerated, and the car was just all over the place. That was because the spare tire was just a little bit different aspect ratio, and we never caught it until we actually put it on the car. So just for kicks, make sure that they're exactly the same as far as the height to width ratio on them. All right, Paul's asking me one I'm probably not going to be able to answer. How do you change the caster or camber on a 2013 Can-Am Maverick 1000? Paul, I don't know off the top of my head. The Can-Ams, out of all the machines I worked on, I haven't spent a lot of time with them, but now you've got me curious, so when I get through here, I'm going to go find out, and then we will lead off with your question next Friday, God willing. So give me a little while, do a little bit of research, and then I'll come up with an answer for you. Kyle's asking me your thoughts on owner doing their own engine maintenance. Well, obviously I'm all for it, because that's the main reason that we do what we do here, is to show you how to do, well, basically anything from just your simple maintenance all the way up to a full engine build. I mean, this is actually pretty fun stuff, and nothing against a dealer, but sometimes it's more cost effective to do it yourself. So whatever machine you're working on, we'd be glad to help you through it. And if by some reason I didn't actually work on one where you can watch a video, chances are somebody else may have. And if not, just give us a call. We've got a great technical staff at the call center, and they will, if they don't know the answer, they will figure it out and then get you the answers that you need. So no, do not be afraid. It's a brave new world. Get out there and work on your own machine. All right, TSC is asking me, my big bear backfires when I turn it off, never when I drive it. So you're saying when you shut it down, the last thing it wants to do is backfire. I would kind of think that you're running it just a little bit too lean, and it's trying to backfire on the shutdown. So I'd want to know where your idle jet is set on that one. So find that out and then let me know. John came back 100%. I even have new carrier bearings. Sorry, my phone is broken. Once again, John, take a peek at your tire ratios, because that's what it sounds like. If it's really wanting to pull off that far to the right, it's either one side's a larger diameter than the other, or either your swing arm is misaligned somewhere up front at the actual pivot point. And that would be really strange for that to happen, because all those tolerances are really tight. So I'd find it hard to believe that she's out of whack that far. Once again, look at those tires and let me know. All right, Jason is asking me, what are your thoughts about putting a little bit more pep into a 1985 200X? Oh, three-wheeler, okay. That's really simple. There's so many different intake and exhaust pairings that you can go with on that. Go with a higher flow air filter, K&N possibly, and then going with a different exhaust. When you do that, go ahead and change your carburetor settings just a tick, because she's going to try to run lean. She's going to want a little bit more fuel because you're going to be pushing through more air. Other than that, a classic like that, I really wouldn't mess with it more than that. Just maybe a different air filter, different exhaust, and then call it a day. Marcus is chiming in on our 400EX question. He said, your Honda 400EX may have a bent swing arm bolt. I had not thought of that, Marcus. So let's go back up to John. Take a peek. Now's the time. Go ahead and see if that axle will actually pull through. And if it's bent, like Marcus says, it's not going to want to come out of there, but it's going to have to if it in fact is bent. So take a peek. I'll be curious to find out if that's what happened to it. All right, Kyle's asking me, I've watched your R6 rebuild faithfully. Boy, did we go into that one deep. Just seeing how different it is to a 2004 GSX-R 1000. You're the truth. Well, thanks. You can follow the basic nuts and bolts of how it goes together, but as far as trying to use all the information that we delved out with the R6 and apply it to the 1000, that's going to be nearly impossible. All your torque specs, all your clearances, the bearing, the way that you choose, or we had to choose the bearing thicknesses, that's all going to be different. But all right, guys, think we need to build a GSX-R 1000 next? Sure. Okay. So I don't need to give the 2007 back yet. We'll just go ahead and keep it here, pull the engine out of it. Hey, I'm good with it. We actually have an 07 that we did a bunch of work to, but I never went into the engine. We did everything around it except the engine. So let's go ahead and do it. What you got for me?
That kind of leads to the next question that's available right now.
What?
On Skype.
Oh, what from Real? I've got a 2002 GSX-R 750.
Yep. It's, as a technician, what's the funniest or worst thing you've had to fix on any given machine? And I'm thinking GSX-R.
Which part, man?
Repeat the question for me.
All right, let me find it again. There's so many of them right here. Come here, Tracy. You come here and show me where it is.
Oh, no.
You want to see the real magic on the other side of the camera? There it is. my editor. Okay, as a technician, what's the funniest or worst thing you've had to fix on any given machine? Well, it's probably the Gixxer, the wheel bearings. God, that was tough, and they smelled horrible. It was just ugly. I think Tracy almost got sick. So it was. I don't know what happened in there, but it was bad. I don't ever want to relive that particular day again. All right, Charlie is asking me, what about jet skis? Well, I know a little bit about the wave runners and the quote jet skis, especially in particular the Kawasaki and the Yamaha brands. What is your question? Throw it to me and see if I can answer it. Linguine is asking me, do you think Honda will come out with the TRX 400X or 450R? You're asking me if they're ever going to bring them back? I don't know, but in my opinion, they should. That 400EX, 400X, probably one of the most prevalent machines out there. It's one of my favorites. I owned one for several years, but you know, they say with age comes a cage, so I made the transition to a side-by-side, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, and never looked back, and I'm okay with that. But hey, next time I see the Honda rep, I'll ask them, you really should get back into this, or get those two back out there. All right. Hello from Thailand. Hello, Thailand. Hope you are well across the pond. All right, and they pointed you to that GSX-R wheel bearing replacement. Oh, TC Daniel's asking me, what ATV brand do you prefer? I'm not going to tell you that. I've got my own particular models from each manufacturer that I like. I think each of the manufacturers has different machines that I kind of gravitate toward. Is there one brand in particular that I have allegiance to? Well, maybe, because, you know, like everybody else, I grew up with, or started out with a certain brand. Maybe red's the primary color and maybe have a wing, so you can figure it out from there. But yeah, who didn't have a Z50 in the 60s or 70s in my case? Okay, guys, what else? Vizcara 40 is asking me, hey guys, any idea why a 2005 YFZ 450 is not sending any power to the bike? Okay, I have a new battery, replaced the key switch and the starter solenoid, cleaned the neutral switch, and still nothing. I hit the key and it doesn't do anything. All right, out of everything you just rattled off, the one thing I didn't hear you check was the main fuse. So chances are on the 450, if I remember correctly, there's a fuse that is actually attached or part of the same housing that the starter solenoid is in. So take a peek in there with your test light and see if there has voltage across those 2 points. If that is fine, the only other thing that I don't see that you've mentioned is the ground wire that actually goes from the battery down to a point on the engine and or the frame. You want to make sure you've got good continuity on that. So check those two things and then get back in touch with us and let us know. Thank you, Sam Shepard. I appreciate that. All right, Ken is asking me, I have a Yamaha Grizzly 550 2013 4x4. I use it here on the ranch in North Carolina. I put in a new belt last week and it still seems to be slipping. Would you recommend a new clutch? If so, is there one for pulling a wagon, an apple, sometimes a load of firewood? All right, on the Grizzly 550 as well as the 700, I believe they have the same system, and there's actually two separate clutch systems, so to speak. You've got the main one on the side, which has your primary and your secondary sheaves, and that's the one with the belt in it. Okay, on the opposite side, is it on the opposite side of the engine? Well, on the opposite side of that enclosure, inside of the engine, either on that side or the other, there is actually a centrifugal type clutch that you would see. It basically operates like one you'd see on the back of a go-kart, if you remember that. It's got the housing out here, and then it's got the clutches on the inside with a set of springs and weights, and the faster it spins, it starts to make contact with that outer hub, and then off it goes. The Yamaha actually uses a combination of both of those systems to, get the machine to move forward. So if it's not your sheave system having an issue, which could be the case, because if you just replaced the belt and there was all kind of wear left over from the belt that got into the inner workings of the sheave system, it may not be allowing the sheaves to smoothly operate in and out. And I'm pretty sure we went through looking at that, and I'll show you how it works on a couple of different machines, and I bet you we did that on the 700 as well. And I'm pretty sure we also did the replacement of that centrifugal clutch on the 700, if memory serves. Tracy, am I right about that? So if you would, go to that one's playlist. Now granted, it's a 700 and yours is a 550, but most of the rules are going to apply, although the part numbers are going to be completely different. But that'll give you the direction of where you need to look to solve your problem. That was a long answer, wasn't it? Sorry about that. Shali is also asking me, do you also give jet ski mechanical information? If I've got it, sure. I'm certified on Yamaha in particular, so I still remember a fair amount of it. So like I said, whatever question you may have in the personal watercraft arena, send it to me. I may have a shot at being able to get it answered for you. Yeah, I thought we went into that one pretty deep. Tracy was telling me we did 3 separate videos on the clutch systems on that Grizzly 700, so maybe that'll get you figured out there. All right, Gulam is asking me, hi John, I have 30-inch tires on my Wax Z1000. Is that going to affect its performance? Yes, it is, especially if you're running in tight terrain like we have over on this side of the country, out over here on the East Coast. When you're doing that, you're changing all the gear ratios in there for the most part. And Yamaha actually makes a gear reduction kit that is pretty involved, but it'll actually change out the gear ratios inside of the transmission to where you can run the bigger tires like you are without fear of overworking the transmission and or the clutch system in it. And just by chance, we're actually in the middle of making that video right now, as a matter of fact. There it is. But I haven't finished it yet. This one, we're actually doing a gear reduction kit as well as the GYTR clutch basket. And then just to finish things off, adding in a recluse clutch as well. So, but as you can tell, I'm not quite finished with it yet. So stay tuned, because when we do finish that one up, I'm definitely going to be taking it out to test it at a local ATV park for, I'm thinking at least 2 or 3 trips, just to make sure it's right. So stay tuned on that one. All right. Striking Tiger is asking me, I was told that the valves need to be adjusted. Well, yes, they have a manufacturer recommendation as to when that needs to happen, but a couple of the telltale signs that should let you know that it's time, other than X number of miles that you put on your machine, is if you hear a tick, especially at idle. It's telling you that they're probably too loose. If your machine is having a hard time starting, especially when it's cold, well, that may be an indication that the valves are actually starting to wear on the seats, getting a little long, and then closing the gap, and then really not letting it start easily. So those are the 2 conditions you want to be looking for if you haven't been keeping up with your mileage. If you've bought a new machine, well, that should be, well, one of the first things that you do is go through, change all your fluids, and then adjust and check all your nuts and bolts, because you have no idea who's been working on that machine and if they've been doing it right or wrong. So I don't want to trust somebody else's work as I'm either in heavy traffic or flying through trees as they're going a little too close to me. So yes, they need to be adjusted. I'll be curious to see which machine you have, and chances are we may have done a valve adjustment on it. So let us know. All right, Real is asking me another question. For older bikes, have to excuse us next door. We're actually building another studio, not to replace this one, but our sister channel, boats.net, is moving in next door. So if you happen to be in the marine industry, why don't you check out that channel, boats.net, and or our website if you need parts. That's what we're here for. All right. They're having a big time over there. Okay, let's get back to Mr. Hawkins' questions. For older bikes like an 02 GSX-R 750, any tips on getting it to fire up for the first time? Starts the second time, no problem, but never the first time. That's interesting. So you're telling me when you first start to crank it over, nothing happens. You let off the starter button, and then you hit it again, and then it wants to come up. I would think that would have to do with your fuel priming system, maybe being a little bit lazy for the first time around. So let's take a look at that and see what happens. All right, we'll do one or two more, and then I've got things to do this afternoon. I mean, I enjoy talking to y'all, don't get me wrong, but you know. All right, Ernie is asking me, I put a new carburetor on my 2005 Honda Rancher 400. Sure that isn't a 420? And it won't, and that would actually be a 350. And now it won't start. What should I do? Well, an engine wants to start if it's got compression, if it has spark, and it has fuel. Since we've been working with the fuel system here, we want to make sure that the carburetor is actually getting full fuel from the tank. Something you may have missed, maybe a shutoff valve you forgot to turn back on. Start simple and then dive into the more complicated things later. 9 times out of 10, we can't see the forest for the trees. So start simple. Let me know what you find. All right, Andrew is asking me, so what does it mean if the gear oil is foamy in the rear differential, the front is normal? If you're telling me it's foamy, I kind of would think that maybe you've got oil, I mean not oil, but water has found its way in there, especially if it looks like a chocolate shake. Sounds like you've got water into the rear diff somehow or another. That's either through the seals and or possibly if you spend a lot of time playing in the water or the mud, it could be coming in through the actual vent hose. So if the seals look all right, go ahead and change it and then extend that that vent hose a little bit higher up into the frame, so maybe it won't pull in the water. Because believe it or not, when those diffs get really heated up and then you submerge them, that water actually cools them down, and guess what? Acts like a vacuum and pulls water in through that hose that's supposed to be spitting out just regular or just air, letting the case breathe. All right, guys. Guess what? We just blew through 30 minutes of time. And listen, I just want to say thank you, being attacked by my glasses. We just want to say thanks for coming by and spending a little time with us. Hopefully I was able to help a few of you to help get your machines on the road tracker trail. Any questions I may have missed, go ahead and leave them in there or add them to the chat, and our guys down in Florida will scan them through and then send them up to me and see if we can get those answered to you, whether it's today, tomorrow, or later in the week. Well, speaking of that, everybody have a great weekend, a good week, and God willing, I will be back here on Friday at 3 o'clock next week. Once again, thanks for shopping here with us at Partzilla. Check out our boats.net channel, and God willing, I will see you next week. See y'all later.